Did you know that anxiety disorders are one of the most common mental health concerns? Approximately 30% of the world's adult population is likely to experience an anxiety disorder at some point in their lives. Here's another fact for you. Women are twice as likely to develop an anxiety disorder as compared to men. Globally, anxiety disorders account for approximately 10% of disability caused by any mental health or neurological conditions and comes second only to depression. All this data is enough to tell us that these days anxiety, nervousness, tension, stress have become a very common terminology in our everyday use, and most of us experience these stressors at some point in our lives. I am Dr. Ishita Bhatt, and today I am sitting here in this garden to discuss what anxiety is and what are anxiety disorders. So let's begin by understanding what fear is. When we talk about fear, it basically triggers our brain into a flight or fight mode whenever there is a threat to our lives or a danger to our lives. In this flight or fight mode, we experience certain arousal in our body, for example, palpitations, dryness of mouth, shaking, heart racing, which all of us may have experienced. Now, we experience similar arousal in anxiety as well. However, the difference is that when we experience fear, there is an actual threat in our vicinity. Whereas in anxiety, the situation is perceived as stressful while it may not necessarily be so. It's very common to experience anxiety across all age groups, but when this anxiety becomes extremely pervasive, very intense, and it goes beyond what we can manage with our usual coping mechanisms, that is when we term it as an anxiety disorder. So the symptoms of an anxiety disorder can be categorized into physical symptoms, emotional or psychological symptoms, as well as behavioral symptoms. So when we talk about physical symptoms of anxiety, it may include tensing of muscles, feeling heaviness or discomfort in the chest, sense of suffocation, heart rate is increasing, dryness of mouth, certain gastrointestinal symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, queasy feeling in the stomach, and a lot of headaches, disturbances in sleep, etc. Coming to the psychological or emotional symptoms of anxiety, it may manifest itself in the form of feeling nervous and tensed most of the times, worrying a lot, this sense of impending danger or something bad is going to happen, a lot of negative thoughts. One may not be able to concentrate on their work, they may find themselves forgetting things very easily. Along with it, certain behavioral symptoms are also seen. A lot of restlessness, fidgetiness, unable to sit in one place for a lot of time, pacing, nail biting, restless legs. Avoidance is a very, very important aspect of anxiety, which is commonly seen. So anything that is anxiety provoking for us, we tend to avoid it. Increase in substance use is also seen as a behavioral manifestation of anxiety. If one or both of your parents has had a history of an anxiety disorder, there's a 30% chance that you may also be vulnerable to it. Next, we talk about trauma or traumatic events. So people who have experienced some form of traumatic events such as physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, violence, accidents, these events either in childhood or during the course of our life tend to increase the probability of vulnerability towards developing an anxiety disorder. Stress is a very, very common factor in anxiety. So these days we are all surrounded by various forms of stressors all the time. The COVID-19 pandemic was a source of stress for us over the last few years. And stress can be categorized into an acute or short-lived stressor such as death in the family, loss of a job, which can turn into an anxiety disorder. Or it can be chronic stressors such as being stuck in traffic, work stressors, altercations in the family, which over a period of time slowly keep growing and they may turn into an anxiety disorder. Now, other than genetics, traumatic events, stress, learning plays a very important role. Since childhood, we grow up, seeing our parents, caregivers, family members, how they are dealing with challenges of life, how they are dealing with stressful situations. And if at a particular age we are not able to learn those coping resources, there is a high chance that we may end up with an anxiety disorder. Additionally, use of substances, contrary to popular belief that substances help us reduce anxiety, what research tells us is that substance use tends to increase anxiety disorders. It could be caffeine, it could be alcohol, nicotine, other cannabis, other hard drugs that people use. So the frequency of substance use is directly correlated to anxiety disorders. And most recently, there's a lot of data that tells us that increased screen time and social media use has also become a source of anxiety, because we are constantly bombarded by information which is primarily either negative, or there's a lot of comparison with what is happening in other people's lives. So social media use has also contributed very, very significantly to the development of anxiety disorders. Now, when it comes to medical conditions, so we are all aware that our mind and body are interlinked and connected. So what we commonly see is that certain medical conditions like hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, diabetes, cardiac issues, these are all illnesses or conditions which occur along with certain anxiety symptoms, and also terminal illnesses like cancer or AIDS, HIV. These are also certain illnesses and medical conditions which can lead to development of anxiety disorders. So anxiety disorders can be treated through both medication and psychotherapy or counseling. The use of medication depends on the severity of the symptoms. The medication will be prescribed by a psychiatrist and are safe and effective and can be used very easily. When it comes to psychotherapy or counseling, cognitive behavior therapy is something which is most extensively researched and used in the treatment of anxiety disorder. Cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT as it is commonly called, works on the premise that our thoughts, our behaviors or actions and our emotions are all interlinked, and we aim towards addressing all of this. So in anxiety, what we typically see is that the fears or anxiety is very irrational. There are a lot of negative thoughts or anxious thoughts. There is physiological arousal, and CBT aims to intervene in all these fears by teaching certain relaxation skills to calm down the physical arousal, by learning how to modify certain irrational thoughts, and also learning certain coping strategies to manage our stressors better and use problem solving skills. Along with this, certain other therapies such as mindfulness are also used in managing anxiety. So like in most psychological conditions, prevention may not be 100% possible, but yes, when we looked at the risk factors or the causal factors, we talked about genetic implications, we talked about traumatic experiences, stressors, increased use of social media, substance use. So if we are able to limit all of these things to whatever extent possible, we will be able to prevent anxiety disorders. Along with this, one very important aspect is our lifestyle. Through regular exercise, through regular relaxation or meditation practices, practicing gratitude, practicing mindfulness, having a good work-life balance, these are all things that we can do to prevent the development of an anxiety disorder.